One of the most sophisticated things you could have at that time was something black. And Chris borrowed my black scarf and my black turtleneck sweater. Where are they? The big deal was black lingerie. You were really had it. You had black lingerie. We gave our roommate black lingerie.
Black lingerie, which is uncharacteristic for her to wear, but
Not anymore.
now she's grown into it.
Yes.
About the college days, it won't be boring.
You have to remember, it's boring.
Well, I know sketchily that from college they wandered around a couple of places. You were down south, down here.
We moved a whole lot.
Yeah. And then when did you catch up
We
with her?
moved a lot of times before we came to Columbia.
Yes.
69.
Is this?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Carlson's in the neighborhood center.
44 pages.
Let me begin here. Easter morn in '69 began events in series, if not planned, which now with meter, if not scan, are placed before Priscilla's clan. Without pretense of poesy, the offering concerning she and all or some of that we know of her creativity. Hither came Carlson's, Ron and Chris, to see if there was aught amiss of Easter services in Longfellow Center. What, only four here? Ah, well, do enter. And here the saga will take a start. Old times in Ohio or Atlanta or Florida, or the Johnstown flood and things much horrider must be left out. Here it's got to be, see 'em, then tell 'em. Was eigentlich gewesen war, that's just that. Will be the rule. Nolo prevaricat, no lies. From that initial Easter morn grew the episodes of Bob Beautihorn. In neighborhood centers and mansions and schools, the band of the faithful learned the rules and made some up along the way. Guitars are okay, but no dogs at play. A liturgy you want, oh well, we'll whip one up like show and tell. Outreach we need, just say the word to Friendship Exchange. Aid was offered. The idea grew, and as Columbia was new friends in need were present too. So over the river to Tilbury Woods, our beds and our barrels we bore. We painted the walls and swept the halls, scrubbed till our mitts were sore. For anticipated transient guests, we did our best, and sooner than quick came Georgia and Nick, who over the years have continued, my dears, to teach us how much blessers are blessed. The Beautihorn bunch over wine, over lunch, in houses and grottos and fields, was metamorphosed to a mission yclept Charlie Brown's Ball Club, which claimed the position of the church west of Route 29, with most talents concealed by what modesty yields. They could hardly evade the tradition. Well, it grew all apace, gained members in space in Lend-Lease elementary schools. With Roger and Sue, our clerics were two. What a ratio of clergy to faithful. As the men in the pew and the women folk too contributed to services graceful. On occasion back then, Lucy would sing. That's Priscilla, in case you don't know.
You?
And when she did that, the rest of us sat quite amazed to hear notes hit on key, and words so ungarbled and clear that the message was plain to all who could hear. And the bell-like tone, when she sang alone, was a pleasant relief from the cacophonous grief which emerged when we sang a cappella or to a guitar, with each gal and each fella, each mumbler and yeller. For glory of self and of God brought results oftentimes which were less like clear chimes than like bin lids or something else odd. Priscilla was able and sometimes willing to give us the gift of pure song, which served to remind us, when the true notes did find us, that knowing the score can contribute much more than spontaneous roaring and mumbling. To hear it done right gave religious insight, even though to the plebs it was humbling. The church got a name, but then things went lame. The church was a concept that faltered, despite hours of advice and consultants. How nice. the problems eclipsed the laity, the bishop, no less, was forced to confess that it wasn't a source of much gaiety. While theological amateur hour came a cropper and church governance ran into grief, the theater upstairs was a real showstopper, a source of aesthetic relief. Priscilla entered this engagement with a life of the star, run-of-the-house commitment. The needs of the thespians grew and grew, yet Columbia must have culture too. Pro Cantare was not yet. And the early stagings we won't forget. This doesn't scan very well. Brand new plays by Ralph Keitel. Proven hits by Albee, Oh Dad, Poor Dad, Henry Thoreau, and Henry VIII as well. And the shocking episodes that flowed along Camino Royale. Judy Tuttle, David Tucker, Jerry Alpern, Brendan Donegan, many thousands more. Our emotions tore as the theater fulfilled the role for which it was built. Before the lights, she trod the boards. Behind the scenes, she made things happen. If you want things done right, do them yourself. To make ends meet and gain attention, play readings in gyms and barns were tried, and even the terrors of dinner at Kara's were dared ere the theater died. Of all the many things that made us feel like kings in the early days and years of the new city, theater upstairs ranks the highest. Our souls did supply, our higher faculties drew up, gave us several times each year a real sense of city living, a notion that more than real estate grew in American. The boy on the burning deck. Shoot if you must, this old gray head, but nothing goes on forever. Our great men all remind us that the play's the thing. It'll grind you down, even in the bosom of a brand new town. The time for something new was a good time too. So they carried her off to Old Virginia, to where the middle branch of the Little Fox Creek intersects the road. That's where the pine trees flourish in the summer, while Lewis Bryant's boys' tuition grows across the road. That's home for Parks, Forrests, Roberts, and Cornets. Also for myriads of rodents, snakes, and toads. And that's where Priscilla labored for the family, keeping house together with 3 ice boxes and 1 John. Classic and fair with lots of fresh air. The discovery was epic. Lewis Bryant was the guide. His antipathy for women he disdained outright to hide. Until it burned down, clearly. The red-hot early morn was another matter. To keep it at home took guts and patter, for Lewis would have hauled it away, full of hot coals and refuse gray. Early trips to Grayson County were both joyful and sublime. Nearest phone and nearest toilet, 13 miles to the old film. When it rains, it really does. Note the linkage of the lightning rod to the old stove, because it will buzz if it hits, which it did. In the evening over cribbage, beastly noises may emerge. Rant and bellow, mellow fellow, don't peg out before it's time. Might at home picture really wobble. Was the to and fro because little furry friends went prancing arm in arm within the walls. To 7. To here if you're not in heaven. Or if, then all will join in chorus to salute Priscilla yet once more.
I think, Priscilla has that effect on people. Because the muse must have been running rampant in the last couple of weeks. And looking back, you want to go in the other room?
Normal married couple.
No.
Yeah, that's right. Normal.
And looking back over those exciting early days of a cultural wasteland in Columbia, and how Priscilla moved in to fill the vacuum, Judy was struck by the muse this time.
We're into the camera.
All of us. This is to Priscilla on the occasion of her blank birthday. You can fill that in. From some of her devoted fans. with a quote, "To love," and appropriately titled "The Importance of Being Priscilla." The theater years found Priscilla in heaven from 69 to 77, for during those years she developed the skills to manage mankind, to cure the world's ills. She learned how to get favors and such from people who normally didn't give much. She manipulated us all with her innocent smile. Instead of an inch, she went for the mile. She squeezed every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears from each cast and crew during those years. We painted the sets, we made the costumes fit, we made trips to the barns, stepping in pigeon shit. We searched far and wide for props that looked real. She taught us to beg, to borrow, to steal. She strove for perfection. She reached for the sky. Though our budget was low, her ambitions were high. And oh, how she worried which play to do. Who would direct? Who'd work on the crew? Who would audition? Who would be casted? Would the audience stay long enough as it lasted? She always hated the plays we would do, but mostly she hated the Flyers review. Had we not done the weird stuff, but stuck with Neil Simon, the reviews would have glowed like a sparkling diamond. But she listened to people like Bubbles and Prudy. She felt as producer it was part of her duty. She had to contend with a very strange horde, from Alvin, Norm Winkler, to old Reggie Ford. From Irwin, the Wiswells, to Carol and Margot, she treated them all like her precious cargo. Some called her Ma, but others have hinted the things they would call her could never be printed. But alas, time went by, the theater ended. Friends were still friends, most fences were mended. She chose to get paid for being a boss. CMP's gain was surely our loss. Now she's going to school to get her degree. She was bossy before, now wait and see. So from all your subordinates, from days old and new, happy birthday, Priscilla. We still love you.
What talented friends I have.
There was an offshoot of Theater Upstairs. You see, I miss Theater Upstairs, and I was in a sabbatical kind of time, and I got sucked into being the musician involved with a, what could we call it, a production for children. And it was terribly appropriate to children. The title of this production was Liar, Liar.
That's when Kay and I got back together. We took that ridiculous show to her school, and she was teaching there, and I didn't even know she was living here then.
It was a ridiculous
What did
show.
the teacher?
Do you have any? I've forgotten most of the details of this, which is fortunate. But I was, it was kind of amazing. What I'd like to say is, out of all this show, with people from Burn Bray, people from Columbia, she managed to hold it all together and still keep the schools from looking askance when we finished, which was itself kind of amazing in itself. One of the more boisterous, out of control things I've ever been involved with.
Not up to Fred's usual quality. You understand?
All the quality of this production had no limit.
Transcended normal bounds.
Couldn't be explained.
It couldn't be explained. This was the moment for these young actors, and I don't even know whether many actresses, to make their final stamp on the theater world, and they took advantage of every moment. Whether the children understood this, or even, I think they were mostly scared to death. The exuberance and the loud noise level alone. Why are you trying looking for confirmation against the phrases I'm
Okay, Francis, you're right.
pulling them out. Yes, I only remember one episode with which she had to deal in my particular case. Had one very, very gifted, he thought, singer, actor, whatever we could call him. Don't remember his name, and he did have a lead role in something about the speed with which I was playing his particular part.
John, he went on to be in movies, right, Jerry?
Well, I mean, everybody can be in movies. So
was Bubbles.
This doesn't exactly tell us too much about him. He's in movies. Think about what's playing in the theaters that we could call them movies. But anyhow, this young man, John was his name. I've forgotten it. Anyhow, we were in some school, and he says, "Francis, would you play this particular aria, something, whatever it was, fast or slow?" I think it was fast. And he really found that particular day, he had to have a certain way. And generally, I'm exceedingly cooperative and go out of my way to please her. Something did snap there. And so when it came his turn, I sat at the keyboard and went as fast as my stubby little fingers and finished the show faster than the speed of light. And left this and enjoyed every minute of it. I wasn't in charge. It was so grand. And I did have ultimate control. But the face of Priscilla. I said, oh dear, Priscilla, he did ask me to play it. I noticed that. It was not to be believed, but I want to say from all of this that I think the theater was really the best preparation that she could possibly have for the job she now has. Because frankly, there is no difference.
Between actors and doctors.
They're all actors, you see, and it's really no difference. The way you control and the way you don't control is no different than the theater. It
What
just
it really
is.
means is dealing with sometimes temperamental,
You know what
very
just struck
touchy
me?
people.
Her grandmother's name was Lucy.
Oh, mother. Oh, that's funny. I had forgotten that, Francis, actually.
A lot of stuff you try to forget.
3 years old, autistic, is now 20, will be 20. And my other little son was 14 years old in New Jersey with my aunt. And my husband called me from Greece because he has found a school for my handicapped son, Linwood Children's Center. And we came here to put him to school. And our apartment, we didn't have an apartment then. And the principal of Linwood told us to move to Columbia, and they guided us to Friendship Exchange. And Friendship Exchange provided an apartment for me to stay with my little son while the apartment we were supposed to rent was getting ready. So I moved in an evening to an unknown city, to a